brief panel with the three presenters. So we've seen a lot happening on the digitalization side of things. So, but if we look at theoretically what's possible in terms of digitalization today, let's maybe say 2025, because I think a lot is happening also in this project, PV Trust, as you've seen, Miguel, and what's actually being implemented. If you look at the range from 1 or scale from 1 to 10, where would the industry be in a year from now? So from actually utilizing the potential of digitalization, and I'm talking now about the solar industry, not necessarily the grid people, the DSOs, and so on.
Sorry, Michael, is this a question to
all of you? So everyone,
okay.
Maybe you start actually, and then we go to Kai and then to Jan.
I guess I jumped too quickly at that. I mean, I think we're really at the beginning of the process. It's quite striking to a lot of my colleagues that don't come from the solar sector when they realize the type of tools, the type of processes that we have. You know, they come from industrial manufacturing or automotive manufacturing, and they see the digital tools that are still being used in the PV sector, and it's still quite. They actually tell us we're maybe 10 or 20 years behind. So there's so much we can do to improve, and I think that's just super exciting because with all of the challenges that we have, I really think that there's that digital solutions will definitely help us overcome them.
And even if we are at the start of the evolution, would you think that at least the industry is really embracing what we have, or do you see a lot of hesitance?
In the stages, project development stages, I know best, which are the development, the conceptual, preliminary design. I think, yes, it's being embraced full on. We really see a huge appetite for more, and a lot of enthusiasm because people really feel it in their day-to-day lives, how much time, sweat, tears, and money they are saving thanks to the efficiency that we provide them.
Okay. Kai, so what's when you look at that from the tracker side of things, a lot has happened also, and there were a lot of challenges also with trackers, bigger modules and all these changes that happened, so a lot of challenges. So how is digitalization actually being embraced here?
Okay, so actually, during my presentation, I have actually roughly demonstrates. Actually, digitalization has been everywhere in tracker-based PV industry, because as I showed in the 4 stages, right, from design to the final O&M. So actually, digitalization has been everywhere. Actually, right now I agree with Miguel, because right now I think it's still probably it's on the very early stage. We have a lot of work to do. For example, speaking of digitalization, most people will talk about the digital platform. I mean, the track level SCADA or the plant level SCADA. Actually, now I think the functions is not so comprehensive. We can do more analysis based on this platform. We can use these functions to improve the O&M efficiency, because right now a lot of clients for trackers or for the PV plants, they say, okay, so it's still very challenging, or it's difficult to do the O&M work. So can you give us more, can you provide more or better solutions for O&M? Actually, I think digitalization can help a lot. As I stated right now, for TrinaTracker, we are planning to do more on this aspect. For example, next year we'll officially launch the 3D digital map, as I showed a little bit, because that would greatly help the O&M staff to do O&M work. And on the other side, for example, right now, because PV is actually is a kind of investment, right? we need to increase the energy yield and to lower the LCOE. And I think digitalization based technology such as SuperTracker, because SuperTracker right now on one hand it uses the physical models, the PV models. On the other hand, we also use the big data. We use big data to do the sophisticated algorithm to better move the trackers to capture more effective light to boost the energy. So I mean to further improve the PV system reliability, efficiency, and performance, I think we must rely on digitalization. Yeah.
Okay. Jan, you in your last slide, you also showed the digitalization workstream at SolarPower Europe. So I think SolarPower Europe is working a lot on this topic, and you're bringing together a lot of different views, the developers, actually their O&M companies, but also distribution grid operators. So I think there's and even so that means so how do you see actually the industry in this on this evolutionary scale, and how quickly are things moving?
Yeah, I must say I agree with Miguel and Tsunkay that we are really only at the beginning. So on the project operation and maintenance, project design topics, Miguel really pointed out the most important elements. On the grid integration things, we are also in very early stages. So but the problem here is that we really don't have enough incentives for companies to really develop these solutions. So there are no flexibility markets available, which of course means that any types of development of digital solutions, communication with grid operators providing ancillary services is lacking behind, because there's no reason for the companies really to develop these services. And the same applies for self-consumption optimization behind the meter. Actually, what we see is only heat pumps, solar plants, EV charging systems that come from one single installers are actually optimized for each other. But the ones that come from different installers, they just work separately from each other. There's no interaction happening. So really here we are also in the early stages. And the same applies to planning of power plants, both large-scale utility-scale power plants and small-scale power plants, where really grid operators and municipalities are lagging behind. Here, it's not part of the solar industry. The solar industry would love to push this more. This would make their lives so much easier. But it's actually these municipalities who don't have the sufficient staff. They don't have the staff to develop a digital platform that would facilitate all of this. Then on the grid operator side, you have more than 2,000 grid operators in Europe. Of course, we have some that are quite advanced. We have ones that really have great platforms available out there. We also have member states like Germany, which actually require grid operators to roll out such a platform, which is great. But the majority of these grid operators, again, they don't have the staff, they don't have the skills to develop this, so they are lagging behind. And here we really need legislation to bring this forward, because in my opinion, they're not going to move by themselves.
But how quickly is this happening? Because I think the challenges are apparent, right? So I think it doesn't matter if you're on the distribution grid or the transmission grid. I think there's everywhere bottlenecks. We see more and more curtailment. We see actually all these problems that are there. We see, of course, a little bit more hybrid system now coming online, where people combine solar with wind, with storage, actually to get and actually even share grid connection points to simply be more efficient. But policymakers see that, because there are targets for renewables, there are targets for solar and wind, and we have to get that going. And digitalization is key. So if you look into, I think 5 years from now, so where would you see us? You're in Brussels. You see actually how things are moving, both on the Brussels level, on the European level, but also on the national level. So
Yeah. So Unfortunately, I must say that 5 years we will be able to see the first steps, but not necessarily more than that, because there's more to do than just the digitalization of the assets. Policymakers, they see the problems that you've just pointed out, but the problem is it doesn't translate into a need for action as grid operators, as in we have to digitalize. Grid operators, they are incentivized by the remuneration that they receive, which is a regulated thing. They are remunerated for the static electricity grids that they put on the ground or under the ground, and not for developing a digital solution. So here we actually have to change the remuneration schemes for the grid operators to really give them the incentive to roll this out. That is really key. And if the EU starts doing this, it takes them 1 or 2 years to develop this, to think this through, really what is the smartest approach. Then you have to calculate another 1 or 2 years for national implementation. And then we are already at 3 to 4 years. So we really have to, in 5 years, we will see probably good steps. We will see like a lot of initiative, but for the full deployment of these solutions, we might have to wait maybe 7 or 8 years.
Okay, maybe Miguel, just on Spain. So because I think that's one of the biggest markets in Europe. Last year it was the biggest market in Europe, and it's also the biggest market for ground mount systems, obviously. So, but there's a lot of talk about cannibalization, and of course, grid connection is also a problem. So how do you see digitalization, especially in Spain? Because of course it's such a sunny country, and I think so solar can play such a big role. The pipeline of developers is huge. They really would like to build more. So how is the government, maybe old new government, actually looking at these things?
Yeah, I mean, I think Spain is always an interesting country for solar because of its huge solar potential, but also because it is sometimes too ambitious even for itself. So I think, you know, right now the whole situation in Spain with grid access is very problematic. I didn't get into it, but one of the so Anderson Optimization Prospect, we are currently launching it in Spain, Germany, and in the UK. And it's sometimes very difficult to even access the GIS data that is required for Anderson Optimization to run. We eventually got it. Spain is actually not the worst in Europe, but for me the key challenge right now in Spain, and I think this applies everywhere else, and Jan alluded it earlier in his presentation, is really on the distribution system data. Many times distribution system capacity, unlike in the map that Jan showed, is not available. Simply, it does not exist, neither in digital nor in non-digital formats. And I think really if we need to think as a sector, not as a PV sector, but as an electricity or an energy sector on how we are going to work together, because I'm not sure we have the time to wait for policymakers to push for policy solutions to problems that are actually between two industrial sectors of the same industry, namely electricity transmission and PV projects.
Okay, maybe final question. So to Kai, I think you're building trackers around the world, and they can, as you also showed in your presentation, take an important role when it comes to flexibility. Yeah, so because I think you can really kind of basically steer the system according to the needs of the system. So when you look at the different markets, where can you actually see some positive developments regarding flexibility and digitalization?
Okay. Yeah. So here, first I want to confirm. So the flexibility from your question refers to the flexible movement of the trackers. This is the tracker feature. So what do you mean by saying flexibility? I need to figure it out.
I mean, of course, the flexibility that the system can bring by actually adapting it to the course of the sun, as you've shown actually too. So where are you seeing actually that solar power plants using trackers are implemented in an intelligent way so that their capabilities are really also utilized?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so based on my experience, so I think it's quite different in different regions. For example, in mature markets such as US, in EU, in Latin America. So almost for these regions, and I mean trackers, single axis trackers is almost like a standard. For example, if a developer wants to develop a project, a PV project, and they would choose track by default, but it's quite different in the developing regions such as in China. For example, right now people still are observing and they are evaluating and calculating, and because they don't have much experience of using trackers, so they are waiting. So in these regions, for example, tracker is used or not is a question. So not to mention to digitalization. But so my experience tells me that in mature markets such as in EU, in Latin America, when people choose trackers, usually they have would choose like optional service such as they will purchase like the digital platform to better support them for O&M. They will choose like the smart tracking algorithm. Though it's they will pay extra money, but they still want to have these value added products because they have seen the potential values of these products. And for the smart tracking algorithm, for the digital platform, they are all closely related with digital technologies. So I mean, it depends. It varies with regions. So right now, we will adopt different promoting strategies in different regions, and especially in the developing regions, we are promoting digital technology related products. We that's what we are doing. But in mature markets, most of the time we are specify the difference between Trina products and other products, and that's what we do. So I think it is quite different in different regions.
Okay, maybe a final question to each of you. So if you think about digitalization, so what's the most important digitalization in the solar sector? So what's the most important thing that needs to be done from your perspective to bring it to the next level? Miguel, you want to start?
I mean, I guess it's easy to buy more PVcase licenses and products would help. No, but more seriously, I think what really needs to happen is what we were talking about last year or this year in the Solar Quality Summit. We need to really move towards a quality mindset. We need to make sure that all of these projects that we're building are going to be operating at the best possible way in 30, 40, 50 years.
Okay, super. Jan?
From my perspective, of course, regulation, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for regulation, but key really is to have incentives for manufacturers, for project developers to use data. That is really key. If there are no markets for flexibility, if there's no clear use case to use solar assets flexibly, then why should someone develop this? So there has to be a strong market pull.
Okay. Kai?
Okay, so my view is because PV is investment, we must ensure that the investors can make money. So we need to try our best to increase the PV yield, and based on track-based PV system, we first need to make the system is reliable, is stable. So the digital platform is quite important. We need to develop more digital functions to monitor in detail of the tracker or any small pieces of equipment in this system. We need to make the whole PV system stable, and then to increase the PV production by using like TrinaTracker's smart tracking algorithm, and that's what I want to say.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks a lot to everyone. Maybe just a few words to conclude from my side. So I think Miguel mentioned actually one important event also. Of course, first, thanks to TrinaTracker for sponsoring this webinar. Miguel mentioned actually the Solar Quality Summit, which will be organized end of January in Spain. That's basically when the solar power plant community is meeting. This is organized by Intersolar and SolarPower Europe. And I think that's really worth going, because many of the topics that we already also discussed today will be there discussed in more in-depth. I would also like to point at the next webinar that we are organizing. Here are a couple of reports from TaiyangNews you can download. And then the next event will take place in a week. And there we will look into back contact PV module technology for rooftop applications. Thanks again for everyone. Sorry again for the little glitch in the beginning, but that's also digitalization. And as we learned, we are just at the beginning. Everyone, have a nice evening, have a nice day, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you.